This is part of my med school application from 2010. It's a personal statement written at a time when being a doctor was my main goal in life. Now, 12 years later, I'm a fully licensed physician and I'm 1 year out from finishing my family medicine program. My life has changed significantly. I no longer live with my parents. I now have an apartment with my wife, and I've gone from spending most of my time in the world of Warcraft to the world of medicine. So if you asked me from back then how I would feel at this point in time, I would say that I'd be living the dream and I must be ecstatic with where I am and what I've achieved. But the reality is quite different. I'd say my average levels of happiness are actually about the same as they were back then. This is not a unique thing to me. Actually, it's quite a universal trait, and it's part of something called the hedonic treadmill. That is, as soon as you reach a goal, you actually just move the goalposts, and that success becomes something new. Because the closer you get to achieving your goal, the more likely it is and the more real it becomes in your head, and it no longer feels like such a large achievement. So if it didn't make me happy, then what was the point of all of that work that I spent to get here? And what actually would make me happy? Well, that's going to be the topic of this video today. And when you ask a question like that, you can get so many responses back. Some might give you a philosophy like Buddhism or another religion. Some could say minimalism. Some might say stay single, and others would say get on a surfboard and try not to look like an amateur. Something which I can totally recommend. But as a man of science, I do want something more solid, and so that's why approximately 3 or 4 weeks ago I went searching for answers, and I found a professor of happiness named Sonia Lyubomirsky has done research on this exact topic and published it back in 2005. And what she found was something very interesting. 50% of your happiness levels is out of your control and is set by your genetics and how happy your parents were. And less than what you might expect, where only 10% is actually your environment or life situation, and a whopping 40% is via something called intentional activity. Those are practices that you do on a regular basis that are intended to improve your happiness levels. Now, I'm always a little bit skeptical with research like this that quotes such round numbers. Like, how do you arrive at such nice splits, 10%, 40%, 50%? And there has been some criticism of that model, but the message remains the same, and that is that you can perform activities that will change your long-term happiness. And I have trialed this myself and have been doing so for the last 21 days and have seen a real benefit in my day-to-day average levels of happiness. So I'm going to share 5 techniques with you that will be able to help you as well. So the first of those is gratitude. Now, it's much harder than we think to be grateful for the things that are in front of us, and that is not by accident, because ultimately we are goal-seeking creatures. That's how we've survived for so long. We will always be exploring new areas and tinkering and looking to be able to expand in the next way. And on the flip side to that, we also have not evolved to function in such a high information environment. There are constant streams coming from all over, online and offline, and our brain needs to find some kind of way to filter out all of that information since we can't process it all at once. The way in which it does that is through the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. What that describes is that when you see something new, your brain registers that as important information, and actually you start seeing that more and more in other places. Now, what's interesting about that is it shows the habituation to things that we see regularly, such as, if we buy a new car or have a new house, or even get a new job. We become habituated to that, and it's a new normal, and the happiness levels that we get from that thing will go down. Gratitude is an exceptional way to counter this, and the practical way that I've been doing it is that every week I will look back on the previous 7 days and I will pick 3 things that I'm grateful for that have happened. And what that does is it helps my mind filter for the positive moving forward and makes me feel happier, which is the goal at the end of the day. There's lots of evidence to back this, but it's also something that we've known for over 2 millennia. Ancient Roman statesman Cicero actually said that gratitude is not only the greatest of the virtues, but the parent of all others. Now, the next practice that I've been doing for the last 21 days is meditation or mindfulness. If that's something you haven't done, I will drop a video down below so that you can learn how to do it. The way I describe it is that meditation is a reset button that helps you appreciate the ordinary again. What I found is that it helps me most when I do it in the morning before all of the day's thoughts and things catch up with you, before even opening the curtains. And usually it's most helpful around a stressful time like an exam or when an interview is coming up. It helps reduce my stress levels, increases my self-awareness, as well as my memory. Now, others have found it also helps increase your attention span, which might help you make it to the last of the 5 methods, which is my most powerful that I found. So make sure to stay around for that. Meditation is also not a new concept and has been around for over 5,000 years. And it's actually a practice that Marcus Aurelius used to do himself as a Roman emperor and philosopher. And in describing it, he said that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That leads us nicely on to our next practice, which is exercise. And I'm not going to linger too much on this, but different exercises are right for different people. What I found is that if you get an exercise that is fun, then you're much more likely to stick around and do it. I found that gym is actually good for me, but I usually have to supplement it with something else. Like I also do snowboarding, and I passed my instructor course on snowboarding actually just on Saturday. Just things to get me around, and also helps me to see friends face to face, which is something else that brings me great joy. The number 4 of our list is random acts of kindness, and that can be something as small as a compliment that you give to someone by opening up your email once you get to work and telling them that they've done a good job, or it could be a box of chocolates that you take for your colleagues, or even a loved one. It doesn't have to be at work, and it doesn't have to be something grandiose either. And the idea behind this is that not only does it help the other person, but it actually makes you feel better and changes your self-image to see yourself as a generous person. And it's something that's innate in all of us and can get lost in the hustle bustle of day-to-day life when you're in your routine. But even babies have been shown to exhibit traits of kindness, and Yale University has demonstrated that. Kindness is such an inherent part of being a person that it transcends all ages and countries to be universally accepted. And it's just like American writer Mark Twain describes it when he says, "Kindness is a language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see." And it's certainly something that I have found in my experience as well. We are just about to give you the 5th method, which is definitely my most powerful. Congratulations to making it this far. And that is the daily journal. Now, there's a really strong reason why I think this is the most powerful of the methods that I've told you about, and it dates all the way back to the Buddha. He held that the mind is like a group of monkeys who are flinging themselves from branches and jumping around, chatting to each other all at the same time. And there's even a word for this that's described as Xinyuan Yima. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I find that when you're able to journal, you can actually stick with a thought and complete it to its logical end. For me, this is best done at the end of the day when you have lots of things going through your mind and you just need that mental dump of information and to be able to process everything that's happened without kind of having conflicting thoughts all going at each other at the same time and actually not resolving any of them. I find once I finish a journal entry, and I do this daily, it actually gives me closure that something is finished, and it even gives me some inspirational ideas for what I should do in the coming days. So if journaling is something you've never tried, honestly, you will wish that someone has told you it earlier. I definitely did. It's something that I intend to carry on doing for the future. Now I've told you about the 5 methods. Let's go back to this idea that achieving your goals doesn't actually make you happy. I do still think that making goals and working towards them is very important, and some of the reason for that is that actually it can give you the opportunity for more happiness when you achieve something that you want. And even though you might not feel that on a day-to-day average basis, I think that it does give fulfillment and meaning to be able to do those things. I, as a doctor, definitely found that some of the most incredible times of life now have been when I've been with patients, made a good diagnosis, and have been able to make a difference to that person's life. Sometimes that is, shadowed by an extreme on the other side where, there's an incredibly sad story. But usually by being able to manage your expectations and being able to flip the patient's goals, that even in a tough situation, you can get them to see some of the positive side. And actually, these activities have helped me a lot to do some of those things. So definitely still work towards your goals, but try these practices. Are you doing any of them already? If you are, let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy this other one suggested by the algorithm here. So take a look at that and see you in the next video next week. Peace.